For any of my varsity friends that were wondering, this is why my school is called HeronBridge. I don't see any herons around. There's some filthy ass water. Pretty sure I'd contract death if I so much as tasted this water. But it's nice to be outside, I can't lie. I've been inside for nearly 3-4 weeks now, with only the occasional half-an-hour run outside. So it's nice to be somewhere different, to see something different. Hey, what's up? It's early in the morning. I'm at my old high school, HeronBridge, this morning because my mom just needed to fetch some papers and that. She's a teacher here, and just thought I'd get a run in while I'm here. It's beautiful and empty out here. Just ground staff and some admin staff on the property working because the school's like offline for the rest of the year. Thought this was a good opportunity to just reflect on what's been happening a bit recently. I've tried to stay away from commenting on the coronavirus and all the political nonsense that's happening at the moment, because let's be honest, everyone just gets depressed when they read the news stories about what government's doing and about how the coronavirus is developing and worsening. But yeah, thought I'd just give you my 2 cents on what's happening in the world, in South Africa in particular. And yeah, let's run. So just how this tennis court is kind of looking a bit decrepit and falling to pieces. It seems like the world is much the same at the moment. If I'm being honest, news stories and that, not very positive, and it seems like the world is really going to shit, which in many respects it is. And so, with regards to the coronavirus itself, actual bug, it's not much to say really. Humans have been dealing with pandemics and epidemics for literally thousands of years, and we always come out on top. There's a great human cost that we're trying to avoid by going through all of this lockdown and social distancing stuff. But humans have been surviving epidemics for thousands of years, and it's nothing new. It's not the end of the world. It's just a momentary dip or stall in the quest for human progress, if you can put it that way. And so you need to see the bigger picture. I'm busy reading Homo Deus right now by the author of Sapiens. Excellent book talking about the history of humanity and the future of it. And very topical actually, because in it he was talking about just how much shit humanity has been through, how much stuff, how many plagues we've weathered, how many predators we've beaten out through natural selection, and just how far humanity has come from hunter-gatherers and primitive primates to the incredible species we are today, where we can have airports and aeroplanes and all these incredible things. And it's important to remember that humanity is not going to disappear overnight, and we have got so many good things going for us, and coronavirus is just a momentary blip in that progress. I found this really old pop rugby ball. Yes. So now that we've talked about the good, let's talk about some of the bad things, like our Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, of course, is dlamini-zuma. Making ridiculous decisions like the ban on tobacco and alcohol and curfews and all the makings of a socialist communist state. But we know that the ANC government loves those kind of things and are progressively working towards a communist society, as shit as that is. I think it's been really frustrating for a lot of people at the moment because, government, we need big government at a time like this. I think libertarianism has taken a bit of a dip, and we can see that people who are not intelligent and who have been put in positions of power that don't deserve it or are not qualified to be there make stupid decisions, and it impacts the entire economy. I mean, I saw that the South African government is losing billions of rands each day in tax money from the sale of tobacco products. and all smokers and that are still getting their cigarettes from illicit deals and from, of course, Simon Dlamini's son's illicit tobacco trade. And it's very frustrating to see government officials, first of all, shoot themselves in the foot and then further enrich themselves in a time of crisis. And it's just very frustrating as well. Cyril seems to have had his hands tied by his anti-government and the infighting and that. Not much has been done, really, to actually stem the tide of coronavirus. I saw Tyburg hospitals already full and battling. We're not going to be over ICU bed capacity and that. And it's just, in a time of crisis like this, you really wish you had a strong government. But I guess it's not just South Africa, it's all over the world. And I think hopefully after this, people will, especially in the next elections, even in America in December, will make some wise decisions about who they want to be leading them.
So while we're here, this is actually a video I promised to Mitch a while ago, but I didn't take into account how lazy I'd be during lockdown, so that's why it's only coming out now. But yeah, basically it's my thoughts around the whole coronavirus situation. And I think where I want to start is that what my brother and I have been saying for a while now is that we think the world needs the aftermath of a war. Not for the fighting, not for the violence, but because after something so horrific, it brings about a global sense of mindfulness. People start realizing what matters, that life is so precious, that extremism and violence and hatred and so on have actually no place in the world and bring no meaning to life. And you also see this rampant capitalism in the world building up, massive valuations of companies, greed. Mitch showed us a link the other day about that sort of quantified the wealth of Jeff Bezos compared to other people, and that amount of imbalance just doesn't need to exist in society. So that's one thought I have with this, is that this massive situation globally that unites us against a common enemy brings about that sense of sort of a post-war mindfulness. And I think that's quite noteworthy. We see it also exposing things like the sheer incompetence in the States and parts of Europe as well. The arrogance of Western science. I mean, in March sometime, scientists were busy running clinical trials, or hoping to run clinical trials, with a collection of drugs that they essentially hoped would do more good than bad. So that's a bit upsetting to think that with all the arrogance around science, when it gets put to the test, it's got nothing to show for it. So I think that needs a bit of rethink, and I think that's why I'm glad that it has become such a big global situation, because I think it does require a major rethink in a lot of parts. You look at the South African economy, this might push things like SAA over the brink, things that we didn't need and things that were stressing the fiscus in ways that were unsustainable. What I also think is globally also, I think it's the planet's way of showing us all that we need to calm down and who's actually really in charge. I'm sure most of you are on Instagram and so on, and you've seen lots of memes or posts about how pollution is cleared up. If you haven't, just Google it. It's stunning in some places. You look at the canals in Venice, the skies in China, skies in India. It's amazing. Yeah, so I think a part of me is happy that we've got a bit of a kick up the arse now, and that we've got to pull up our socks and do a better job. I think also what it highlights is the flaws in capitalism, or the way we run capitalism, especially in a country like South Africa with our massive Gini coefficient. The poorest of the poor have nothing, and thank goodness we as a country can pull together and stay in a lockdown for 5 weeks to support those who need it most. So that's always heartwarming to see. But I think I think this is a bit of a wake-up call for us as a species, and in the way we do things globally. I think what's also nice is that you're starting to... What matters in the world now is what matters. if you look at how much racing drivers and soccer players and professional athletes are paid, I mean, really? Something like, if you look at LeBron James or Neymar's wages, do they really need to be that much? If you compare it to teachers and doctors and nurses and all of the countless individuals volunteering now to go and help others and support, you know, a cause that's much bigger than entertainment, supporting survival and people's chances to live. So yeah, I think altogether then, I think I've said a lot now. Maybe some of it resonates with you, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, basically those are my thoughts. Just a quick disclaimer, this is of course just my opinion. If you don't agree with some things, you're welcome to take it up with me, or otherwise just completely disregard it. Yeah.
And I'm usually a very positive person, but it's been increasingly difficult at the moment to stay positive in the light of all the bad things that seem to be happening in the world. And in particular, people that want lockdown to be ended immediately and want to go back to work, and the people who want to stay in lockdown indefinitely, like trade unions and concerned parents and that. It's a very hard balance to get, because coronavirus is not going away in the next year, even 2 years. You know, we're going to have to deal with it until the vaccine production process is really underway and has been done properly and that. And so we can't stay locked down forever. The point of a lockdown as well is not to stop the coronavirus, it's to prepare for it. And I think, you know, we've probably done enough of that now. We've done enough preparation. We're going to be as ready as we ever have. And you've got to weigh up like the two scales of economic hardship and death from coronavirus, you know. It depends on what you believe in and what you want to see in the world. But if we carry on like we currently are, there's not going to be an economy or a country or jobs or any money left after the coronavirus is eventually eradicated, because it will be eradicated, that's for sure. There's so much science and that being poured into it. In a couple of years' time, no one will have coronavirus anymore. But what we will have is the long-lasting economic effects and that from the coronavirus. And we can't just print money or give people thousands of rands in government grants indefinitely, because that's not how money works. And it's a shared fantasy that we all believe in, money, but you can't just print more of it. Zimbabwe is a perfect case example of what happens when we delve into socialism and we just print money and you don't actually solve any of our economic problems. And so I think both parties, people who want the lockdown to be ended immediately, need to consider you know, the cost of human life, because every human life is valuable. And just because coronavirus only affects old people doesn't mean they're not worth saving. I mean, I've got a grandmother who I love dearly, and I don't want her to die from this coronavirus because some asshole was out there just wanting to make money. But also, on the other hand, you can't ruin people's lives by not letting them work and not letting them make a living for themselves and imposing more economic hardships on them with a ridiculous lockdown and ridiculous regulations. So there's a balance to be reached. But at the moment, yeah, I really do think they need to open up the South African economy, need to stop with all the ridiculous legislation that's giving them a sense of power, because telling people when and when they can't exercise and what they can and cannot sell and all of these silly things that we've been subjected to in the last few weeks isn't stopping the virus. It's just giving our leaders a bit of a power trip. And so yeah, that's all I have to say today. Thank you for listening to me ramble about what's happening in the world and about coronavirus. And yeah, this is a very privileged person's opinion on what's happening at the moment. Hope you guys are doing well, and then I hope you're retaining some sense of normalcy at the moment, because we're not going back to normal any year soon. But there's nothing to say that the new normal that we have can't be just as meaningful and, you know, just as enjoyable as the past few years without coronavirus. The world is in a stressful place, but humans are strong and humans are resilient, and we will get through this. And remember, tough times never last, only tough people. Thanks for watching. And funnily enough, this is where my friends and I used to hang out at break every day when we weren't in class. Just in the lobby here of the biology block. It's changed slightly. Still smells the same.